Welcome to ground control. Okay, so the changes that I made to the XK-J3 Cub, I extended the motor 3 millimeters out rather than 6 as I was planning on doing. I did add more right angle to the motor to counteract torque, and I replaced the composite 2-blade 6x3 prop with a Gemfan 2-blade ABS prop, 6x3 prop, because that I think has better thrust and efficiency on a 2S than the other prop had, and this is the one that I tested on the bench. The other thing I did was, while I had the canopy off, rather than move the motor forward 6 millimeters, just bringing it forward 3 millimeters, I did carve out some of the foam that the back of the battery sets against so that I could bring the battery forward about 3 or 4 millimeters further forward, which also makes it a little bit easier to get that battery hatch back on with some of the larger lipos. So having done that, let's take it out for our next test session. I will meet you out at the field.
Okay, flight number 2. This is a little larger, heavier battery, and when I landed I still had 7.4 volts in the pack, 7.6 volts in the pack, 3.8 volts per cell. Alright, so let's see if we can get it back in the air. Still getting a bit of torque roll on the launch. Okay, so I just want to practice doing coordinated turns at cruising speed. Yeah, I haven't got it trimmed out yet, so I keep forgetting to add a little expo to my ailerons. I'm cruising around about 50% throttle right now, and it's speeding along, isn't it, at 50% throttle. Not too shabby, I don't think. Yeah, not too bad at all. Like I said, I'd like to lose some weight with it. Because it's pushing 200 grams. So I think it's heavier than it should be. It's heavier than I would like it. But not bad at all. I think if I could trim some weight on it, I think I'm going to have a pretty aerobatic little bush plane in this plane. Look at that. That's a fast roll rate. I think I need to increase my expo and decrease my rates a little bit on the ailerons. Yeah, that's pretty snappy. And it's a little breezy up there. Okay, so should we try a stall with it? I'm not looking forward to doing a stall without my wing cups on it, but let's gain some altitude. Alright, I'm pulling back, pulling back. Alright, that's it. That's the stall. That wasn't bad at all, was it? Alright, so my timer has elapsed. Let's try that one more time before we land. Alright, that's it. That's the stall. It just dropped its nose and went on, which is definitely what I like. Alright, so let me see if I can get my depth perception better up here. Make sure nobody's coming. Make another lap here. I've got a crosswind I'm coming into. It's going into the wind right now. Alright, not too bad. Did flip it over. But that was a good test. Now I've got plenty, I think, of right angle in that motor. I think it's just because it's heavy until it gets up to speed. It gives me some torque roll to the left on launch. So I don't know. I may just have to add a little trim to it to counteract that. I'll know more about what I need to do to trim if I can come out here and not have so much wind. But I'm going to measure the voltage on it again, and then I'll calculate what kind of flight time I could get out of it, because I wasn't easy on the throttle in either one of those flights. Easier in the second flight on the throttle than I was in the first, though. Okay, let's get another flight on our J3 Cub before it gets too windy out here. Launching. Not too bad. Not too bad for as heavy as it is. I'm putting quite a bit of rudder into it there. And I'm not flying very fast. No, that's not too bad at all. I toned down my ailerons ever so slightly and put a little expo in. Ooh, stay out of the sun. That's a pretty big loop there. Yeah, I think I like the amount of power that this 1407 3500 kV offers with the 6x3 prop, 2-blade prop. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So I think once I get her tuned up, I'm going to have a pretty aerobatic little J3 Cub bush plane on my hand. Timer's elapsed. What do you guys think? I think that's pretty slick. Okay, let's bring her in. On the last flight when I landed, I had 7.7 volts in the pack, which is what, 3.85 volts. Go back around and come in. Alright, let's go back around again. Come in. Ooh, I am just glitchy with it today on the landings. I mean, my landings aren't usually great, but they're usually not that bad. Alright, so I don't know. Let me see about putting another battery pack in it before the wind kicks up. It kind of comes and it goes. But I'm pretty impressed with what I see so far. I think I'm going to like it a lot. See you in a minute. Okay, let's see if we can get one more flight on this. Get it tuned a little bit better before we call it quits. So what I found was if I throttle it up to about 70% and give it a good chuck, I don't get that torque roll to the left. I did increase my aileron expo from 45% to 55% before this flight. I am about 50% throttle right now. I don't know if it's the wind. It's kind of banking to the right ever so slightly. I got to bring it back out here when I don't have so much wind and get it all trimmed out. I'm putting quite a bit of rudder in those turns. Stay out of the sun. Ooh, that was an iffy rudder turn there, wasn't it? I think I put too much rudder into it. That's better. that was too much rudder. I think I'm going to have to tone it's got a pretty good size rudder on it. I think I'm going to have to tone down my rudder. I've got it at 100%. Yeah, that was better. Big wide loops on that. Nice. Can we do a split S? Yeah. That's pretty sweet. Flip it back over. I think the balance feels pretty good. I see just slight zooming when I throttle up. That might be trim work. But that's pretty cool. I'm liking it. Okay. Alright. Let's see if we can bring it in and get one decent landing today. Maybe. I don't know. Could happen. Oh, nope. It's not going to happen today. I should have kept it throttled up a little bit more on that landing. But, you know what? I am definitely going to be practicing my landings with this before I video it again. But I'm very happy with what I see. It's got plenty of power. It has decent slow flight capability, but if I could get it lightened up a bit, it would have a lot better slow flight capability. I definitely need to tone down the rudder a little bit. If I just input a little bit of rudder, I get a pretty decent stall turn with it. You could do loops, split S maneuvers, stall turns. It's not too bad. Pretty good little plane, I think. I'll see you guys back at the HQ.
Okay, so I thought that went pretty well, except for the landings. I'm almost there. I think one more tuning session on this plane and I'll have it flying the way I want it to fly. I think I need to add a little bit of down angle to the motor to prevent that slight zooming when I go full throttle, level flight. The nose wants to come up just a little bit. So I think putting a little bit of down angle on that motor, that I will have that fixed. I think that's the right amount of right angle to put into it to counteract the torque, because as long as I give it a good chuck at 70% throttle, it takes off nice and straight. So when it's at speed, I don't feel any motor torque at all. As a matter of fact, let me see, instead of going to the left, I think it was just slightly banking to the right. So I'll need to trim up my my ailerons just a tad to get it nice and straight and level when the stick is centered. So I think after I do those two things, I went ahead and performed some additional flights to practice my landings so they're not so bad next time I take it out. But I like the amount of deflection I have on the aileron. I like the roll rate. Now that I've increased the expo, it doesn't feel so abrupt. It's nice and smooth. I like the amount of deflection that I have in the elevator. And you guys saw the nice, big, wide power loops that I was performing with the plane. and that's at a pretty heavy weight. So I really like the power system that I've got on here, and it's just budget components, so it's very inexpensive. I did dial down the rate on my rudder from 100% to 80% dual rate. I don't think I have any expo in it. I'll double check, but I don't think I have any expo in it. But then I did perform some additional maneuvers too, not just, you know, practicing launching and landing. So I did do some additional maneuvers, and it's much easier to do stall turns with the plane now without having so much deflection on the rudder. Yeah, that way it doesn't want to dip the wing so abruptly when you do that. I did discover that because the rudder is so large, when you're doing a rudder turn with it, you need to put in quite a bit of opposite aileron to keep the wings level. Because with that rudder deflecting so much air, it does want to tip the wing. So that helped that too. I mean, you can do pretty nice rudder stall turns with it, and I'm definitely not very competent at doing those maneuvers, but I got some decent ones in. So the maneuvers got better. I like all the control surfaces. I think as soon, and the expo, I think as soon as I get the down angle into the motor to prevent it from zooming when you go full throttle at level flight, I think I'm going to be completely happy with it. And when I'm completely happy with it, then I'll do a show and tell tutorial on everything I did to convert the plane. And then shortly after that, and I'll show you one more flight with it. And then shortly after that, I've got a bunch of planes that I've created setup files for. So I'll be posting all those setup files for a bunch of different planes, including this one. So stay tuned. Thank you guys again for using our affiliate links when you make your purchases. It helps us do projects like this. You know, it takes a lot of motors and props and speed controllers and lipos to do proper testing of power systems, and so it helps us do projects like this. And this is going to be an awesome little manual mode aerobatic bush plane with plenty of power. Much better plane than it was stock. So stay tuned for more flights on this. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the air.